going to go ahead and hand it over to Tyler to dive into the content and give us a little intro.
Amazing. Well, thank you today. Oh, stop it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. As Savannah said, we are going to go deep into the world of video in sales. And it's so good to hear that there are some folks, folks like Stephanie, who are crushing it with video and tools like Vidyard, but lots of you that haven't dove into using video in your own process. Whether you're new or whether you're a seasoned video user, there's going to be great insights here for you on different ways you can be using it throughout your sales process, not just to gain attention, but perhaps most importantly, to accelerate your deal cycles and actually close more business, because that's what we are here to do. So without further ado, I'm going to hop right into this, and I'm going to start with a quick story for all of you. Little story about a moment in time when I became even more of a video convert, if you will. And it was an instance where, well, I wasn't the one using video. I was the one who received an amazing video. So to set the stage here, if you have bought a vehicle recently, in the last couple of years, if you've bought a new car or a used car, drop a 1 in the chat. Let me see how many people out there have had to or wanted to buy a new vehicle in the last couple of years. Right, a lot of people. It's pretty common for us to have to go out and do that. I myself had to buy a new vehicle about a year ago. My lease on my previous car was up, and I was in the market for something new. So of course, like all of you would do, I went online and I searched Google. I did not do this. Like many of you, I'm sure, I did not go into a dealership and say, hey, what do you got for me, right? I went online, I did my research. My wife and I watched lots of videos, looked at lots of reviews, and we narrowed it down to 3 possible types of vehicles we were interested in. Much like your prospects are doing a bunch of research before they reach out to you. Now, when we had it narrowed down, we reached down to 3 local dealerships that we felt had the best chance of having a vehicle like we were interested in. And we did, again, just like your prospects do, we went onto their sites and we submitted that form, the contact us form, that form. So I went in there, put in the details, each of these sites, same contact us form, right? Your name, your phone number, your details, and then a bit of a description on what you're interested in. After submitting those to 3 different dealerships, the first 2 came back to me with the usual templated emails, right? It came from some sales rep's name and it was like, hey, thanks so much for your inquiry. I'm sure we have something here on the lot that'll meet your needs. Click this link below to schedule a time to come in to meet with us, right? Same thing many of you do when a prospect reaches out to you, right? Hey, here's a link to my calendar. Let's find some time to talk. Now, the third email that I got, well, I'm going to show you this one. This one deserves to be seen, folks. This is it right here. Snapshot from my real inbox of the email I received from the 3rd dealership. This is Will Huron. Will Huron, man, this guy, I remember him like he's my oldest best friend from high school. Will Huron sent me this email and I opened it up and boom, there's this video, right after I'd submitted this form. And I'm like, okay, here we go. This looks interesting. And he says, sorry for the delay. It was like less than a day later that I got it. It was actually pretty quick. And he said, hey, I wanted to, introduce myself. And we actually have a vehicle here on the lot that's similar to what you requested. I wanted to show it to you. Well, I'm like, this is great. I don't even have to put pants on. This is awesome. So sure enough, I smashed that play button, right? I'm like, let's see what Will's got. Smash that play button. Will's on camera. He says, hey, my name's Will Huron. I want to introduce myself. I'm going to be working with you here at this dealership, da-da-da-da-da. And I wanted to show you one of the vehicles we have on the lot that meets the needs that it sounds like you're looking for. And he walks me over. He's actually doing it on his phone. He gets in the driver's seat, shows me around the interior, goes into the back, shows me where the USB ports are for the kids. And I'm like, this is great. I didn't even have to put code on. I didn't have to go anywhere. I've got to meet this guy. Seems very trustworthy and knowledgeable. I got to see a real vehicle that actually does meet my needs. And I don't, have to go out of my way to block off 2 hours on my Saturday. Did I even respond to those other 2 dealerships? I'll let you guess. Well, I did to one of them, and then I didn't even show up. It was kind of a sad experience. This guy right here, he did all the things, right? He stood out to me. He made it easy for me. He made it helpful. He made it trustworthy. These are all the things video is so good at. And this wasn't a cold outreach. This was when I had submitted some interest, and this was my first introduction to this gentleman. And it made all the difference in the world. And from that point on, it was his business to lose because he showed up and he put in that extra effort. And I had great expectations for working with him and this dealership. So, what's my point in all of this, right? It's not, did I buy the car or not, right? It's not, did Will Hearn get promoted to vice president of the dealership after this situation? That's not what this is about. It's about this simple thing that you can all be doing, right? Video is so great at all stages through your customer life cycle to help you get their attention, to help you be more clear and provide clarity as they're looking for information, to become more familiar and more memorable to them. And perhaps most importantly, to be the most trustworthy you can be. And these are all the reasons why we show up on video calls instead of voice calls, right? When we're like, we need to have a live meeting with a customer, if we can't be there in person, the next best option is a video call because they get to see us, we get to see them, we become more familiar, more memorable. I can show them things, I can use my body language, all this stuff happens. But when it comes to all those other moments outside of the live call, all of those offline, asynchronous moments, when a customer asks you a question, when you're sending them some information, when you're updating them on a status of something, following up after a meeting, what do? Well, we typically revert to basic emails. And then we say, hey, on our next call, we can dive into it further. I'll show you or whatever it is. But why, right? If video is the next best thing to being there in person for the live meeting, isn't a video message the best thing for those asynchronous updates as well? And I think it often is. I'm not saying you should be using video in every message to your customers, but boy, oh boy, with how easy it is to hit record, share your screen, hop up on camera to deliver your message, I think we should be using it way more frequently than we are today because every one of these videos, when you send it to a prospect or a client, it makes you more familiar, it makes you more memorable, it makes you more trustworthy. And ultimately, it's giving you FaceTime, literal FaceTime with your clients. Now, I'm going to hop in the rest of the session. I'm going to dive into those 5 simple ways, and there may even be a bonus 6th. There might be. But first, I just want to give one final kind of interesting kind of nuance into why video can be so effective. We found that we actually had a company do a neuroscience study on how the brain actually reacts when somebody's in an inbox and they open an email with a video in it or a video message. So they actually hooked up the ECGs to monitor their brain waves. They had eye tracking. They had things to monitor their blood pressure and so on. And they ran this interesting study. And what they found was that when people went into an inbox and started opening up traditional emails, it put them into a state of negative arousal, is what they call it, which is associated with being annoyed, being upset, being nervous, right? Like we can all appreciate that, right? Like when you go into your inbox and you're like, oh, here we go, right? It feels like a chore. But then as soon as these people opened an email and had a video inside, and then they clicked that play button, it pushed their brain into this positive state that was associated with things like being excited, being happy, being pleased, and also being more relaxed, which was really, really interesting. It was a finding I was actually not expecting. Other things I was expecting, which it did validate, the information was more memorable when they watched it in a video. They were better able to pay attention to the content when it was in a video because their eyes were able to follow what you were talking about when things were being explained. It was also easier to process visual information than it was reading text, right? They actually were able to tell the brain was getting more fatigued as they were reading as compared to watching a video. So all those things are good, but this interesting thing of it just made them feel better. And some of you may know when you enter a more relaxed, more pleasant mind state, you also become more receptive to information. So video is an amazing thing, right? It's why companies spend millions of dollars on television commercials. So us as sellers can be using this though in many, many different ways. So let's hop right into it and talk about some of these different use cases. And as I'm talking about these, please, please, please drop a note in the chat or drop a note in the Q&A if you have a question, or if you're doing something like this and you want to share an experience, like, yeah, I've done this, it totally works, or I tried that, it totally failed, let us know as we're going, because I'd like to sort of hear what the audience is actually seeing in real life as we talk about some of these different things. All right, so let's hop right into it. The first use case for a video, which may not surprise some of you, is actually for outbound prospecting. Now, drop a number in the chat here, if you will. I want to get to know you. You mentioned earlier if you're using video, but I want to know specifically who out there has tried using video for outbound prospecting to cold leads. 1 for a no, 2 for yes, but with little success, 3 for yes with good success, and 4, yes, I'm absolutely crushing it with video. I'm a video prospecting boss. Do we have anyone bold enough to drop a 4 in there? Nobody yet, and I'm sure they know. I'm going to call them up on screen if they do. Okay, we've got a big range here, right? We've got a lot of people who aren't, a number of people with little success, and a good number of people with good success. And my boy Steve Garrison drops the 4 in there like a boss. And I do know that Steve Garrison actually is crushing it with video. So Steve, as we're going here, drop your tips in if you have any on what's been working for you. I'd really appreciate that as well. And to answer John's question, yes, there will be a recording of this shared afterwards. Okay. How about a poll? I know, but getting me going in the chat gets me fired up. I see it all coming in. I love it. And everybody gets to see it in real time. Okay. So let's talk about this a little bit more. What do we mean by using video as part of outbound prospecting? Well, with tools like Vidyard, there are others as well, but they're not nearly as good. It's really easy to record a quick video message using your webcam or using a screen share plus your webcam. You can also record on your phone. And once you've recorded your video, it's literally like 1 click to drop that into an email or a LinkedIn DM and send it off. When somebody clicks to watch it, you get a notification to let you know they just watched your video. Now, when you do this, a couple important things for those who haven't done it before. What's happening here is it's putting the thumbnail image for your video along with a hyperlink to click to watch it on its own dedicated page. It's not actually attaching the video because that would get blocked by firewalls. And they can't play back within the email because email clients just don't allow it. But in this case, as you can see in the picture, you can drop a nice big thumbnail image into that email, and that can be a static image or it can be an animated GIF, like a few seconds from your video of you waving at the person or whatever it happens to be. Now, this can be really powerful because when somebody opens it up and they see that thumbnail image, a lot of things happen immediately, right? They now know you're a real human, like check number 1, that's good. If this is a video you made just for them, hopefully there's something you did in the screen or on a whiteboard you held up or something like that to make it clear you made this just for them. That's going to incredibly increase your click-through and watch rates on these videos because now they know immediately, like in a split second, that this wasn't just some spray and pray message. You genuinely made this just for them, and their expectation of value is much higher. So in this case on the left here, here is a, now you want chicken parm. Michael's already reading ahead on this. This was a video I made for one of our customers just a couple weeks ago who sell advertising services to small businesses. And so I put myself in the shoes of their reps and I thought, how could I get their attention? And so I picked a local restaurant here that I thought would be a good candidate for their advertising services. And I wrote an email like this, right? Jesse, first of all, I love your chicken parmesan at La Cucina, da-da-da-da-da. Having lived here in Kitchener for 15 years, I know it's the best in town, but I'm curious how you get that message in front of the 60,000 plus people who have moved here in the last 2 years. I made you this 50-second video to share one simple idea for how you could reach these people in a way that scales and give you transparent view into how it's performing. Thumbnail image. And an equally important part is the line below it. Have you tried something like this yet? Question mark, best Tyler. Now, in this case, if you got this email, I hope you would get enough curiosity here to say, I got to click that play button. Because if you worked at La Cucina, you'd recognize this is your website and I've actually highlighted your chicken parm on the screen. That's how much I love it. So you're like, okay, what does this guy have to say, right? He's put the work in, I should probably watch the video. So when you click play, what happens now in 50 seconds, I get to say something along the lines of, thanks so much, great to meet you. My name's Tyler, I'm coming from here. And, I really meant it when I said A, B, and C. I've been, going to your restaurant for a long time. But one of the things I really specialize in is helping local businesses do A, B, and C. I found that a lot of them have a problem about this, da 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 da. Would love to chat more with you about it. Are you free sometime tomorrow? And I just want 15 minutes to give you a bit more. Whatever it is, right? That's my message. And what's happening now is that, first of all, your messages stood out. Secondly, by getting them to watch a video of you instead of just reading bullets, they get to know you. You create that personal connection, much like that car sales rep did with that email I got from him. You earn their trust, you create more rapport, you become more memorable. Even if they don't respond to this email, I promise you, they're going to remember you as that person in that video, right? It's a very different experience. So all these things happen, and they can increase your chance of getting that response. Now, some final tips on this, because we've got 4 other things to share, but a couple of other quick tips for those of you that might think about using this for outbound prospecting. Evan asked, are there any numbers on this? I assume you mean in terms of like the kinds of results people can expect to see. There was one large-scale quantified study done by our friends at SalesLoft a couple of years ago, where they analyzed millions and millions of email sends through their platform from sales reps. And they found that on average, outbound sequences with video messages had a 26% higher reply rate compared to those without video messages. So the average went from something like an 8% response rate to a sequence to about a 10.5% response rate. So it was a meaningful lift in terms of average. That said, best in class, we're seeing 2 to 3 times higher response rates. So they were going from like 8% to 15%. Some folks going up to 20% when they were doing really hyper personalized and targeted video outreach. So the opportunity for best in class is really, really high. But on average, these things do tend to work. Now, of course, you have to do it right. And there are a lot of tips to go from poor to average to best in class. Things like your thumbnail image for your video actually makes a big difference when you're prospecting, right? Because it's got to create that curiosity to click in and watch. And that's where having something that is personalized to them makes a big difference. The email around the video is really important, obviously. You still need a great subject line. And the rest of your email should be about, how do I create urgency to watch my video? You can see in my email here, my last line after the thumbnail isn't, do you have 30 minutes on Friday to chat? Or here's a link to my calendar, can we book some time? Do you know why I didn't say that? Because when people read this email, they scan the top, they scan the bottom, and then they look in the middle. When they scan the bottom and they see you're asking for their time, a lot of people, myself included, shovel it off into the trash, right? I don't care how good this is. I don't want to spend 30 minutes talking to you if I don't know who you are yet. And so everything is built around getting them to click play. And once they see you, hear you, get familiar with you, then you can ask it at the end of your video. And I tell you, that works like a charm. So that idea of like, have you tried something like this yet? Or is the problem I described in the video something you're feeling as well? Right? All these create an urgency to watch the video and go, oh my gosh, I got to find out what this person's talking about. Now, you can be using videos that are generic, that you record once and use over and over again. But certainly we hear consistently from users that a personalized video with a custom thumbnail for that individual always performs better. But of course, it takes more time. And so you got to find your own balance between effectiveness and efficiency, depending on if you're playing a volume game or a smaller sort of account-centric prospecting model. I'm going to show you an example of an actual video, another one that I received. I love showing ones that I get. This was one that really stood out to me that I just loved, and it was from a gentleman at a company named Trustpilot. I'm going to play the video for you, and then I'm going to quickly share what I thought about it. But as you're watching it, drop a note in the chat of things you think this individual did really well. If there's things you think he didn't do too well, you can say that also, but let's not hate on him because I think this was pretty good.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to check this out. Now, personally, I love you guys. I use Vidyard all the time, but did notice a few areas where I thought Trustpilot could help with some quick wins for you guys. I just wanted to highlight it on this. So, as you can see here, I just ran a generic search based off a keyword you guys are currently bidding for. As you can see, like Adobe and Loom are also bidding on that same keyword, but nothing's really having you guys stand out in search right now. So I wanted to show you this example. As you can see here, I ran a search for online tutoring. So Tutor Me Education and Preply are both Trustpilot customers. They are proactively collecting reviews with us to power these gold stars. As you can see here, we have C2 Educate.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. So what I really loved about this is the first part of the video, he was on my website. And so when I opened it and I saw it, I went, okay, I can tell this person's done their homework. He's on my website right now. He's at least put in the effort, probably worth listening to. But then when I click to watch, the video is so much more valuable than just a regular email would have been, because he immediately showed me the current and possible future state, right? He said, look, here's an ad you guys have running today. And I'm like, yep, I know that ad. And then he says, here's how it could look a lot better. Look at these 5 stars below it. I can help you do that. And I'm like, that was 1 minute that I was like, I get it, right? I get it. And I don't think that could have come through in a regular email in a really effective way. And so this one, I immediately forwarded to the person on our team who's responsible for advertising and said, you take a look at this. Please follow up with this gentleman if you think it's worthwhile, right? I very rarely forward emails to my teammates. But it was a really simple example of how that might happen. In cases like this, now I've seen there's a couple questions related to, first of all, like, are people willing to click these links? Or an individual who sells to government and hasn't seen a lot of success with using them in prospecting. And I think that's such an important point. There are some markets, government, prospecting to cybersecurity professionals, where using video for cold prospecting might not be your best bet, right? I'll just put it out there. But all the other use cases I'm about to talk to you about will be. Once you've built the relationship, now there's all these ways that you can start to use video. But for your first outreach in those markets, might be tough. You might be better off connecting with those people on LinkedIn if you can, if they're on LinkedIn at all, and then sending them a video through that channel where, again, it's more of a one-to-one, and they're not going to be so suspicious of a possible phishing attack. But in most other markets, we see stuff works quite well. Some people will include videos in their first outreach. Others use it later on in their 3rd or 5th or maybe even 10th touch. Once they start to see some activity, then they go in with the video. So you just have to try it out for yourself and see what might work. But hopefully this gives you a good example. This is just one simple idea, right? He does a screen share to kind of show me something. Another way people use this a lot in prospecting is a very simple approach. They'll go to, again, their prospect's website or their LinkedIn profile, have that up behind them, hit record with their camera on, and again, deliver their message in a way that starts with, I was on your LinkedIn profile and I noticed, or I was on your website and I noticed, da-da-da-da-da, and then you get into what you're really reaching out about. A really simple tactic that gives you something personalized on the screen, but then easily pivot into the message you want to deliver. Okay. I'm just looking at, he didn't make eye contact. Yeah, there's some different things here that he could have absolutely improved. Absolutely. But I think, again, like, I was like, this is great. He was very genuine, right? Seemed very authentic, very natural. And so I try not to like pick apart those little things. And I'm like, I live by a line I'll give you at the end, which is, this is about connection, not perfection. I'm glad he didn't re-record it to get it like perfect and like cut out the little delay in a browser tab or something. It actually felt more real to me. And I was like, hey, this is a real person just trying to help me, which I thought was great. Okay, second use case that I want to speak to beyond outbound prospecting is now in a similar vein, but a really important difference. And this is where, again, no matter what industry you're in, this is really, really effective, is this simple notion of responding or following up with new leads or referrals you might get with a video message as your first introduction, right? You only get one chance to make a first impression. And when you do it with a video, it's just so much more impactful. So for example, if you are getting leads from your marketing team, let's not get into a debate over good leads or bad leads. You get a lead from your marketing team because an individual, maybe they downloaded something from your website. Maybe they signed up for a webinar and you're going to reach out to that individual. Most of the time, we're just going to use an email template. We might link to something, da-da-da-da-da. But that's a perfect moment to hit the record button, right? And say, hey, Kaylee, thank you so much for joining this webinar earlier this week that was hosted by my good friend Tyler Lassard. Saw you ask a couple of questions. Hope the topic was really interesting to you. I was curious, da 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 da, and then you go from there, right? But when you make that video, you bring up behind you on the screen the page for that webinar. Because when they see that, they'll go, oh, yeah, that's the webinar attended. That's an individual in there. I don't know who that person is yet. Okay, let's find out what this is about. And when you're actually then speaking to them like a real human, again, it's a very different first impression. And they're like, oh, yeah, I did attend that webinar. Okay, this human seems nice enough. Maybe I should get into a conversation here and act on it. What you can also do is make those pre-recorded and send it to a lot of different people, right? If you're getting batches of leads from the same source, maybe it's, again, a list of people who attended a webinar. Maybe it's people that you get on a daily basis who fill down a contact us form on your website. You can have a video you've made once ready to go. You don't have to say their name. You don't have to re-record it, right? It's just something like, hey there, it's Tyler at Vidyard here. Thank you so much for your interest in connecting with us here at Vidyard. I want to introduce myself to put a face to the name. I'll be the one helping you understand a little bit more about A, B, and C. I like long walks on short piers, margaritas on the beach, whatever it is. And I'm really interested to hear how it is that I can help you. I look forward to chatting soon. There'll be a link in the email to book a time, right? Something as simple as that. Again, it's not going to suddenly change, you going from 50% of quota to 100% of quota, but it's going to get you there, right? These little things, that's going to increase your response rate and show rate and connect rate to that inbound lead. I hear it all the time. People are like, hey, I started sending videos and all of a sudden people are showing up when I book a meeting with them, right? It's very, very simple, but can be very impactful. Okay, so just a little nuanced idea there, but think about that. And as I noted here, a pro tip, you can do these custom for individuals, or if you find yourself saying the same thing over and over, make one version of that video, have it in your library, and anytime one of those leads come in, send it, send it, send it. Very little effort, but the impact can be very, very meaningful. All right. I will address a little bit more specifically the yeah, so there's some of these came in a little bit earlier, but I'm going to just kind of reframe the question about some of these going into spam potentially. I've heard from some sellers that they send video messages in the first touch and see a ton of success. Others who find it's better as a later touch in their sequence, and they start with a text-based email for their first couple of emails, because those are the greatest likelihood of getting through and kind of getting you registered with the spam system or the firewall, sorry. So that when you do later on send a video message, it increases your chances of that getting through and watched. But remember, these are just thumbnail images and a link. So it will behave the same as any other email with an image and or a link in it. There's no video actually being attached. So those are really important things to be mindful of. The last thing I'll note here before I move on to the next, because this is important for the first two types of videos, is how long should these videos likely be? And there's a question about the highest kind of watch rate depending on how long the videos are. At this stage, if you're using it for outbound prospecting or your first kind of response to an inbound lead, keep it under 60 seconds. That's my strong recommendation. Somewhere between 30 to 60 seconds is the sweet spot. 30 seconds gives you just enough time to make that connection, kind of put your personality out there and get an important message in. But again, try not to go beyond 60. For the people that have not yet met you, they just may not be willing to give you that amount of time. And if they click play and they see that it's too long, they may just bail right away. So that's my rule of thumb, 30 to 60 seconds when using it early on in a life cycle with a prospect. Okay, let's start moving through the sales process now. And now that you've sort of gotten this idea of, okay, I can hit record, I can record myself, and or I can record myself plus my screen. What are some other times that I might want to use these videos? And the honest answer is any time that you're sending a message to one of your clients or prospects, right? And one obvious case for that is before and after a meeting that you've booked with a prospect. So let's say you tried the first, one or two things there, you got somebody interested in, they're like, this is great, I'm excited, let's meet Friday at 2. And now it's Friday morning at 10 o'clock and you're panicking because you're like, are they going to show up? They said they would, but we all know there's an X% chance they're just going to no-show. So what can I do to increase my chances? Well, instead of just sending that email reminder ahead of the meeting, Send them that quick video. Remind them that you're a real human with feelings too, right? Send them that quick video. Hey, can't wait for our meeting later today at 2 o'clock or tomorrow afternoon, whatever it is you're sending it. Really excited to peel back A, B, and C to get the most out of the meeting. Make sure you come prepared with this, and I'm going to come prepared to talk about this. If there's anything else that you're thinking about, just let me know. Otherwise, see you tomorrow, right? Again, now you become more familiar to them. They're less likely to bail because they remember you as a real person. Following the meeting, most of you are probably sending some kind of follow-up, right? You might send a follow-up email where you recap some high points. Maybe you're sending a recording of the call if you did a Zoom or something like that. I encourage you in some, maybe not all, but in some cases, to block off 10 minutes after the meeting and record a quick recap video for that prospect. It can either be just you on camera, or you could pull up a slide, quickly type down a few bullet points, put that up beside you, hit record, and deliver your follow-up as a quick video. And the reason you may want to do this is that when your champion who is on the call gets this, yes, they might watch it, but more importantly is if they forward it around to others who didn't make the meeting or perhaps weren't invited in the first place, right? Now, those people, when they click the play button, they're going to actually get to meet you. They're going to get to hear you. They're going to get to see you. They're going to get to trust you. Way more impactful than them just reading a bunch of bullet points on an email, right? But it's a really simple thing to do. And it can also just simply be more helpful, right? You're helping your champion better represent you so they don't have to try to interpret things internally, right? For those of you who missed the meeting, here's a great video from our account rep at that company. They sent it over afterwards. You're welcome. You don't have to watch the 30-minute recording. Here's just a 3-minute recap. Take a look and let us know what you think, right? Really simple thing that you can do. Now, all these little touch points are, again, giving you more face time with your prospect, even though you're not hopping on a live call. I'm making this look too easy. Sam, it really is. It really is this easy. But you know what? In all honesty, when you start out making these videos, it's tough, right? It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. You're like, where do I put my hands? Where do I look? I sound weird. I'm not good at this. It takes me 10 takes to get the right message. We're going to talk about that right at the end on how to get comfortable and confident on camera if this is something you haven't been doing already. So stay tuned for that. Okay, let's hop into number 4. Talked about outbound. We talked about follow up to an inbound lead, pre and post that first meeting, second meeting, third meeting, whatever it happens to be. And now here's another simple one. Probably the easiest time to use video throughout the sales process is as a better, more impactful, more memorable, more trustworthy way to answer those questions that your prospects have, right? How many questions does any of your prospects have unanswered at a given time? It's always more than one, right? They've always got different questions, different things that aren't clear, maybe some things they're not sure if they're interpreting properly. You might be getting emails from them saying like, hey, I had a question about this. Could you let us know? Maybe it's a question that came up on a call that you weren't able to answer on a live session. Or maybe you ping your customer and say, hey, I really want to make sure you've got all the information you're looking for. What are the 2 or 3 things that are still not clear for you, right? Push them on it because clarity leads to close. Ooh, that's not bad. Clarity leads to close. And when they can truly understand and clearly articulate even themselves what you do, what your value is, how you're going to help them, that makes all the difference in the world. So a video can be a great way to do this. So for example, right, one of our customers might ask us, hey, Tyler, you talked about how Vidyard integrates with Outreach. But I wasn't clear on, is that just for making videos or is for that also seeing data about who's watching? Could you elaborate? Now, I've got a couple different ways I could answer that question. I could send back an email. I could say, hey, let's book time on Friday and I can walk you through it. That'd be cool, but it's not very efficient. And they probably don't want to book time on their calendar just for that. And I could probably make better use of a live call with them. So what am I going to do? I'm going to hit the record button on my desktop. I'm going to do some screen sharing and I'm going to go, Hey, Kyle. Thanks. Great question. Thanks so much. Let me show you exactly how that outreach integration works in the context of our conversation. So, yes, number one, within outreach, you can record a vidyard video, and here's what that looks like. But to your second point, you can also view the viewer data right inside the activity log of a lead in outreach. And here's what it looks like. So I'll highlight it on the screen. I'll show them. And then I'll add on, and some of our customers, what they do is they set up a trigger event to say, when this view happens, do this, right? And here's how you do that. So I record a quick video like that, might be 3 to 4 minutes in length, and I send that over to Kyle. Now, again, the benefit of this is I get to say it, I get to explain it clearly in their terms. So I'm not just using an off-the-shelf asset, but I'm also not just typing it out in an email, because now they get to see it, right? Hyper clarity. They're like, okay, I get it. I've seen it in action. I know exactly what you mean. Now, maybe not all of you have software products where you can do that. Maybe some of you are with services companies where you can't quite show it on the screen. But there's often ways in which you can use visuals, body language, intonation, even a whiteboard, right? Look at Thomas Buchanan on the screen here. This guy is a power video seller. His back wall behind him is a whiteboard wall. So that at any given time, he can draw a picture, or draw a little workflow, draw some arrows to explain something to one of his customers. He uses it in live calls, but he also uses it for his video messages. He's like, hey, let me show you how this works. And he just draws a little thing and explains it visually, right? Really, really helpful. So again, really simple thing. And the last point here, shareability, right? Like, instead of waiting for the live call, if you do this, send it over, they can share it with all the other decision makers. Hey, marketing team, check out how this integrates with outreach. And they're like, cool, this is awesome. And they didn't have to join the live call, right? Simple, simple, simple. So many ways you can do this. And it's more efficient for both of you, you and the buyer. They'll thank you for it. Just like I thanked that car sales rep at the beginning. I'm like, you're the best. You saved me an hour from having to go to the dealership. Eventually I did go and I test drove it. But I didn't have to go there to see if they actually have what I wanted. Same thing. Save both of you time. They'll thank you for it. Okay, number five. I promised you 5. Here we go. This is a little bit kind of an extension to the previous one, where when somebody's asking you a question, answer with a video. But then also being almost prescriptive in terms of how you use videos to do custom walkthroughs or custom demos for your prospects. Now, I know some of you, you're going to be like, wait a minute, Tyler, hold the horses here. I want to do all of my demos live with my customer on a video call. And rock and roll. You should, right? When you have the opportunities, live demos, of course. I'm not talking about replacing that. Not in all cases. Some cases you might be able to, right? But there are so many times when, again, your customer is interested in how something might work, or how something might be different from how your competitor does it. Or maybe they want you to walk them through a story of another customer and how they've actually implemented your solution, right? These are often things that we either go, I'm going to talk about that on our next call, or I'll send you an on-demand asset. Like, okay, here's a customer case study, right? The problem with just sending the customer case study, and I'm actually a marketer myself, so please use our case studies, but the problem with it is it's not contextualized to that individual, right? So it's less meaningful, right? It's a generic story, right? It's good. But when I can hit the record button and bring that customer's face up on my screen, and I can tell it to the customer the way I want to tell it, it's very, very different, right? Now you can go, hey, I just wanted to share the story about customer, one of our clients, here they are. Great person, right? As you can see here, mother of 3, just absolutely amazing, demand gen leader. And her big problem was A, B, and C, just like yours, right? You had told me that, right? She has the same problem as you do. Imagine that. And her team was struggling with this, just like Ken on your team. So you can tell the story in a way that contextualizes it, just like you would in a live meeting. But you can record a video, send it over, and now they can watch it. Again, they can forward it around, and that becomes a new asset for them as part of the buying experience. It's quick, it's simple, but it's personalized, it's customized, and it's giving you face time with your prospect. It's more clear than an email. It's more specific and relevant than an on-demand asset that's generic. And it's more timely and shareable than trying to wait for doing it on a live call. Does that make sense? it's almost like I don't want to say that we should reduce our dependency on having live calls with our customers, but maybe we should, right? Like if more and more of these moments can be these asynchronous communications, we can both be more efficient with our time. And often it's a better experience for the buyer. Now, again, these live meetings are still really important, but in between, these can be these great micro moments to move things forward in an offline way, but still have your personality front and center, right? Still speak it in your own language, and still show rather than just tell how it is that you're going to help. Is there anybody out there doing things like this? Are you recording quick little demos? Are you answering questions for your customers? Are you doing walkthroughs of a proposal, of a customer story, of a competitive comparison? Anyone? Anyone? Oh, there are some out there. And I hope a lot of you are thinking, well, not yet, Tyler. Not there it is. Ben Person, my man. Not yet is the right answer for those of you who aren't doing them quite yet. So these are all, again, none of this is rocket science, folks. These are all moments where you're already communicating ideas to your prospects and clients. These recorded videos are just a new way to do that can often be more impactful, more effective, more efficient, and hopefully more helpful to your clients. Now, before we hop into some final live Q&A, I've got a simple example of this. Let's have a quick watch. This is my buddy Thomas Buchanan. I mentioned him earlier. We don't need to watch this whole thing, but this is like following a meeting. His customer asked him for some more clarity, and here's how he would show one of his customer stories. Check it out.
Hey, Matt, thanks for the chat. It was interesting to have a first conversation with you and hear about how you're supporting your dealers in this new atmosphere. I'm making you this video to show you how another player in the construction industry is making it easier for their dealers to engage with sales, marketing assets, and stay up to date on the Chris product launches. So this is my iPad here, but our platform works on iOS, Android, Windows, and web. All they would have to do is download the mobile application that we would reskin for you. And
I'll just pause it there. You don't need to hear his whole pitch. You get it, right? He's actually showing, here's one of our other clients, VacuWorks, how they've white labeled our solution for their downstream reps. And from the app, they can access all these things. And again, his prospect watching is like, cool, I can totally see myself in their shoes, right? Really simple idea where he's recording this custom for this prospect because it's so much more powerful than just sending them the case study or the on-demand demo of how it actually works. It's the same sort of thing he'd walk through in a live demonstration, but in this case, simple, offline, easily shared, rock and roll. Bonus, right? Savannah was so right. She knows me well enough to know when I say I've got 5 things, I'm always going to bring 6. This is a really cool one, really simple, but the what to expect from you as a seller or what and who to expect from you if they move ahead. This is a great example of that. I got another one that I got from Sweetfish Media. So we were in the final stages of reviewing a proposal with them, and they sent over this awesome video to introduce us to all the different people in their company that we'd be working with should we sign on the dotted line. Let me quickly play part of this just to show you what they sent over.
Hey, Tyler and the rest of the Vidyard team. Logan Lyles, Director of Partnerships here at Sweetfish Media. Tyler, obviously you and I already know each other. Wanted to take a second to introduce myself to the rest of the team, let you know how excited we are that you guys have chosen to partner with Sweetfish to bring your new show, Creating Connections, to life, and let you know that ongoing, I'll still be here to make sure that this is an ongoing successful partnership between Vidyard and Sweetfish as you meet more of the team, both in this video and throughout the launch process.
Hey, Rebecca and Tyler, Ryan here. I'm the Director of Customer Experience at Sweetfish.
Ryan.
We got a chance to speak.
Manager here at Sweetfish.
Alicia.
A little while.
Hey, Tyler. My name is Bill Reed. I am Chief Operating Officer.
Even the COO hopped in to introduce himself, right? I'm like, VIP treatment. Vidyard is a very important company. I don't know, something like that. And I love this. I was like, I can't wait to start working with this team. And then it goes on. So I got to meet like 4 or 5 people. And it's just those little moments, right? Where you're like, my expectation of working with this company just keeps going up. And I'm much more comfortable signing on the dotted line because I now have met their whole team. I know my post-sale experience is going to be just as good as my pre-sale experience. Really great example, and I think that one, Lyle Logan and the Logan Lyles and the Sweetfish team, I love it, love it, love it. So simple things like that you can do, right? You don't even have to produce it like this. You can just, have different people record some little welcome videos. All right, I told you before we get into our final Q&A here that I would give you some tips on how to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Yes, I did sign the contract with Sweetfish. Thank you very much. And they were just as good in real life as they were on the videos. So how to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. For those of you who aren't doing this yet, or maybe, if you're just not at the Steve Garrison level yet of using video, first and foremost, obviously, make sure you've got a tool to make this simple. If it is painstaking to make and share videos, you're not going to do it. That's why Vidyard is here. It's so simple. It's free. Just go to vidyard.com. You can sign up. You can start making and sending videos. That's it, right? It's just nice and easy. So make sure you've got a good tool that simplifies the process. Secondly is start with some of the easy videos to make, right? Things where you're already explaining something to a customer. Answer a question. Next time you're going to answer a question, instead of typing it out, hit the record button and just say it, right? Use videos internally with your colleagues. Don't start with like outbound prospecting. Those are actually the hardest videos to do because you got to really think through the approach, and it's a little bit different. Start using it to answer questions, to show some things, get comfortable. And then I take the FIT challenge. The 40 and 30 challenge is my challenge to you. Send 40 videos in 30 days. Pick a video buddy in your company and do it together, right? Like a exercise buddy. Keep each other honest. And because, once you make 50, 100 videos, right? It's just like making cold calls, It's like anything else. You build the muscle, you get more comfortable. Every video you make gets better and better. Your first video is going to suck. Your 10th video is going to suck. Your 20th video is not going to suck as bad. Your 40th video is going to be pretty good. Your 50th and 100th video, you got this, right? Now is the time to just start to get behind this. I'm not asking you to make TikToks. I'm just asking you to say it, to show it rather than write it. And I hope that a month from now, you're going to ping me back and you're going to go, Tyler, thank you for pushing me on this, because this is a new skill that I'm going to need for the rest of my career. And I'm so glad I got started right now. If that happens, please do DM me on LinkedIn. Tell me. I love to hear feedback like that. And finally, don't take yourself too seriously on video. It will ruin it for you. Have fun. Be yourself. Be authentic. Speak like you normally would as a human. Dial down the acronyms. Don't put on a suit and tie just to get on camera, unless you're, selling into high-end insurance and that's your gig. That's fine. But it's about connection, not perfection, right? Use video as a way to deliver your messages more personally, more engaging way. End it and send it. Don't try to make every video perfect. And I think you'll actually be better, and you'll make better videos when you do that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I've got a few minutes here to answer any lingering questions, but otherwise, as I said, if you want to use Vidyard, try it out. If you want to connect with me, Tyler Lessard, I'm active on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. So just connect with me there, send me a DM, and happy to share more. And otherwise, I can't wait to see what you all go out there and create. I'm going to take a quick look and see if there are any other final big important questions that I didn't get to. Some of them I will also follow up with afterwards. Glenn was asking whether you can customize the background in your videos. With Vidyard as a recording tool specifically, we don't have like virtual backgrounds built into the tool yet. We actually find most people prefer to just have their real background behind them. But what I also find is a lot of people use it kind of like how you see on the screen, where you're in a bubble and there's something up on your screen beside you. That's a great way to say, I can share my screen. I've got my camera bubble. You don't have to worry what else is around me. It's a little hack to say, if you don't like your background, well, just make sure your camera is focused on you and use a screen share. I think I answered most of the other questions that were in here. So again, if there's anything else that I didn't answer, just hit me up. More than happy to. And I am going to bring Savannah back on to close us out.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tyler. Thank you all for joining us today. One more time, I will send the link to our event in Seattle. We will also be in Atlanta, Austin, New York, San Fran. I think that's it. I might have missed one. Be sure to keep in the loop with that, and just check out our events tab on Sales Hacker. I think that's it for today. Thank you, Tyler, and thank you all for joining in, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.